Chapter 10. Paul Emmett. I got out of the car and started to walk along the road. After about 50 metres, I came to a gate and a private road leading to a house half hidden behind some trees. There was a mailbox full of letters next to the gate. Were the owners away? I looked at the names on two of the envelopes, Professor and Mrs. Paul Emmett, and Paul and Nancy Emmett. One letter had been readdressed from the Arcadia Institution with an address in Washington, D.C. Emmett. The name was familiar. I returned to the car and took Makara's Cambridge envelope from my bag. A few minutes later, I found the photograph of the Footlights members. P. Emmett was one of them, and Lang was also in the photograph. After some time, a small Japanese car drove past me, travelling in the direction of the house. A dark-haired woman was driving, and a man sat next to her. He was about 60 years old, and he turned to stare at me. I knew at once that he must be Emmett. He got out of the car and took the envelopes from the mailbox. Then the car drove through the gate and on towards the house. I waited for a few minutes, and then I drove up to the gate. There was an intercom next to the mailbox, and I pressed the button. The answer came immediately. "Hello?" It was a woman's voice. "Could I speak to Professor Emmett?" I said. "It's about Adam Lang. I'm helping him with his memoirs." There was a silence, and when the next voice came, it was a man's. "This is Paul Emmett. I think you've made a mistake." "You were at Cambridge University with Lang," I said. "I've got a picture of the two of you there." There was a long pause. Then the electric gate slowly opened. I drove through and parked next to Emmett's car. I got out, carrying my bag. Emmett was waiting at the open front door of the house. "We just flew in from Washington, so I'm a little tired," he said. "But you've made me curious. Please come in." Once inside, I could hear his wife speaking on the telephone in another room. "Yes," she said. "He's here now." Emmett closed the front door behind us. "Can I see the photograph?" I took it from my bag and gave it to him. "Well," he said, after a moment or two, "I don't remember this at all, but yes, it is me. How did you get it? You must tell me." "I'd be happy to," I said, and again I waited. "Yes, well, come into my study," he said after a moment. I followed him into a room with dark green walls and shelves full of books. On the walls were photographs of Emmett, pictured with several famous people. I noticed a picture of him with Lang. Emmett sat down behind his desk, and I sat in a chair opposite him. "I'm sorry about Lang," he said. "Reichardt was the worst foreign secretary since the 1940s, and the ICC is going to make a mess of this situation." "How well do you know him?" I asked. "Lang? Not very well," he said. I pointed to the photograph on the wall. "Oh, that. It was taken at a dinner for the Arcadia Institution, an organization I used to be a member of." "But you knew Lang at Cambridge," I said. I took out the other photographs. Now that I looked at them again, I could see Emmett in several. In one, Lang was with some other students, and Emmett was standing behind him. "That's you, isn't it?" Yes, I think it is," he said after a moment. "Can you tell me the names of any of the others? The girls, perhaps?" I asked. No, it's all a long time ago," he said. "Where did you get the pictures?" "Do you know the name Michael Makara?" I asked. "No," he said. A little too quickly, I thought. "Who was he?" "He was the writer hired to write Lang's memoirs before me," I said. "He drove here to see you nearly 3 weeks ago and died a few hours later." "To see me?" he said. "The satellite navigation in the car he was driving had your address in it," I told him. "But that doesn't prove that he came here," he said. "How did he die?" "He drowned," I said. "Were you here that weekend, the 11th and 12th of January?" Emmett sighed, then went to the door. "Nancy," he called. "Where were we on the 11th and 12th of January?" She was carrying a diary when she came in. "We were in Colorado at the Aspen Institute," she said. "Oh yes, I was the speaker at the dinner," Emmett told me. "I flew back on Sunday. My wife stayed for a few more days." "So you could have seen Makara," I said. "Yes, I could have, but I didn't," he said. "Now, Nancy will take you to the front door. Be sure to turn right at the gate or the road will take you into the woods, and you'll never be seen again." Instead of going back to Martha's Vineyard, I drove into nearby Belmont and found an internet cafe. I got a coffee, sat down in front of a computer, then clicked on a search engine and typed in Paul Emmett and Arcadia Institution. 10 minutes later, I knew that the Arcadia Institution had been started in 1991 to encourage democracy and freedom of speech and continually improve the friendship between Britain and America. It had offices in London and in Washington, D.C. Paul Emmett was the institution's first president. He had been born in Chicago in 1949, went to Yale University and St. John's College, Cambridge, and was a lecturer at Harvard University between 1975 and 1979. Nancy Klein was his second wife. Next, I typed in Arcadia Institution and Adam Lang and got a report from a newspaper website about a dinner Lang had attended at the Arcadia Institution. Then I went back to the Arcadia website and discovered that one of Arcadia's trustees, Mr. Arthur Prussia, was president of the Hallington Group. I remembered seeing Hallington on the side of Lang's jet. I typed in the name Arthur Prussia and Lang and got a 1-year-old newspaper report. London. Arthur Prussia of the Hallington Group is pleased to announce that Adam Lang, ex-Prime Minister of Great Britain, will be joining the company as a consultant. I had never heard of the Hallington Group, but I learnt that it had 24 offices around the world and that 2 of its most important members had worked for the CIA. And when I typed Arcadia Institution, Hallington Group, CIA, I got a report from another newspaper. Hallington jet used for CIA torture flights. The Hallington Gulfstream 4 jet aircraft was photographed at the Stare Kiejikuti military base in Poland on the 18th of February. It is believed that the CIA have a secret detention centre there. This was 2 days after 4 British citizens, Nasir Ashraf, Shakil Qazi, Salim Khan and Farooq Ahmed, were supposedly kidnapped by CIA men from Peshawar, Pakistan. Mr. Ashraf died during questioning. Between February and July of that same year, the jet made 51 visits to Guantanamo and 82 visits to Washington Jules International Air Force Base, as well as visiting at Andrews Air Force Base outside Washington, D.C., also U.S. air bases at Ramstein and Rhein-Main in Germany. The plane is also known to have visited Afghanistan, Morocco, Dubai, Jordan, Italy, Japan, Switzerland, Azerbaijan, and the Czech Republic. A spokesman for Hallington said that the Gulfstream jet was often hired by other organizations, but he said that he did not know what these organizations used it for. Next, I typed CIA and Emmett and got my biggest shock from a website called Secret Agents in Universities. There was a list of suspected CIA contacts. Among the entries I found, Paul Emmett is reported to have joined the CIA as an officer in either 1969 or 1970. "Oh no," I said quietly. "That can't be right." I stared at the screen for a full minute before I noticed that 2 short-haired men at another table were looking at me. One was speaking into a mobile phone. Trying to look calm, I pretended to drink the last of my coffee. Then I walked out. The two men also left the internet cafe as I hurried to the Ford Escape. When I was inside the vehicle, I locked the doors. I looked down the street, but I couldn't see the men. I took out the photographs again and found the footlights picture with Lang and Emmett. Then I looked at the phone number on the back of the photograph. I took out my mobile phone and called Richard Reichart.